Joe here with Emily Page from Pearl Resourcing, and we are at ECRM Store Brands Week in Las Vegas. So thanks for joining us.
It's really fun being here.
As always. And so Emily was one of the 4 presenters on the marketing services track that I was hosting as part of our Store Brands Summit. And her presentation was about packaging design for success on the shelf. So she covered a lot of ground in that presentation. We're not going to cover everything here, but one of the parts that I do want to share with the audience is what you talked about on the visual packaging. So can you talk a little bit, give a little overview and the importance of it, and then we'll dig into some of the elements that you feel are really key to success in that area?
Sure. So as a consumer is walking through the aisles, they're actually looking at your products through peripheral view. And so the question is, how are you going to grab their attention and how are you going to make sure that it starts selling? And color is one of the #1 ways that you can grab attention. And so a lot of people don't know, how do I use color? What's the optimal way to grab attention on the shelf? And so there's different strategies. #1, you want to use color cohesion and contrast. And so if you look at a color wheel, you're going to take the color on the opposite end will be the one that will cause the most contrast to your eye.
Gotcha.
And so you want to pick a set of colors that you're going to use in your brand story that will together both belong together, so they look nice or the same.
So you want to use those contrasting colors together on your packaging?
Yes, and they also need to kind of go together. You don't need to use pastels and neons. You want to pick them within the same family. So that's the cohesion part. The contrast part is picking colors on the opposite of the color wheel, because your eye naturally just gravitates towards that thing. The primal part of your brain is looking for rich, ripe colors, and so using those techniques makes your color stand out.
So you mentioned something during your presentation yesterday about when you're choosing the colors. Some colors might be better for certain types of products, or maybe certain like premium products versus value products.
Yes. So because of our culture, we've been taught that richer, deeper colors usually have more expensive feelings to them. Softer colors have more of a healing impact. Bright, bold colors you would see in cartoons on maybe children's vitamins. So, and there's certain colors that are considered more delicate or more strong and fierce. You know, harsh black and gray would create a more intense feeling. So colors kind of create feeling. And so feelings are really what sells product. People are buying something that they feel will either serve a need, whether it's value, helping their family, you know, like premium products that will be really fun, expensive. So you want to create that feeling with color, and color can do that.
Gotcha. I mean, you also mentioned something about personalization.
Yes, so I would say that'd be the secondary point after you've picked good, powerful colors, is to stick within your brand scheme. Some people, when you're just new to packaging artwork, you might be tempted to use different colors every time you do a new packaging artwork, but really the power comes in using colors that are all belonging together, using them repeatedly throughout your brand, and sometimes even using those colors to associate with different flavors, using them to highlight the different call-outs that are on your, across the different product lines.
That's something that's huge, especially on the food side, with call-outs for whether it's free from, or whether it's keto or vegan or protein. So those are the areas that you're talking about.
Exactly.
All right, and then the other area that you talked about is actually the merchandising. Where does this, how does this all fit in when you're working with a retailer in the merchandising side?
Yes. So most people, when they're doing packaging artwork design, they are designing it on a computer. And so when you are looking at artwork on a computer, that's actually not the real environment that it's going to be sitting on the shelf. And so when a really smart thing to do is, first of all, print out samples and put them on the shelf, and literally sneak into a grocery store and maybe take your packaging artwork in your bag and then put it up there and look and see what it looks like compared to all the different competitors, and what it would look like in that weird funky lighting sometimes. If it's in the freezer section, you definitely want to see what that weird lighting would look like compared to your colors, because that will help you to get a great idea of what the merchandising will look like on an everyday basis.
I think that's a great point, especially where it is physically in a store. The example that you use with the freezer, where some areas kind of look darker, or on a shelf, there are certain dark spots within a store that you might not be aware of unless you go in there.
Yes, and so it's the right thing to do to actually take it in there and use those colors, Notice how that stands out on the shelf in the peripheral view when a person's shopping. And then to also think about the fact that the retail buyer who buys your product is going to be placing it on the shelf to try to attract attention and create a great shopping experience. So if your products are created so that they really pair well with other products, so for example, chips and soda, or maybe night cream and then sleeping pills, you consider how would this product actually be merchandised? Can I put it possibly in a, make colors that make it belong more at checkout? So it's really fun and playful, and maybe have something that's more traditional in the regular everyday aisle for breakfast. So when you think through colors, as it applies to everyday use in the grocery store, I think it empowers you to be better able to sell.
Great. Well, could you tell us a little bit about your company? About Pro Resourcing? What do you do? What kind of services you offer?
Yes, so Pro Resourcing is a packaging and product development agency. We specifically focus on developing packaging for emerging brands, small to medium brands, anyone who's developing new products. We help to create the packaging that takes that idea into stores. So if you have any of those questions and you want someone else to give you some feedback, you want them to help source the packaging for you, do the graphic design, maybe do some printed mock-ups or 3D mock-ups so that you can walk into that buyer meeting and actually ace it. That's what we do. So this information is free advice for everybody, but if anyone wants some extra professional help, they can always contact us.
Great. So you can find her at proresourcing.net, as well as you have a YouTube channel called Start to Sold, correct?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.